Hi, everyone. We're doing this just short little live meeting to talk about puppy biting for the Positively Puppy Paws Facebook group. And so we're going to start out with just a short little review of a couple of videos. You guys can all see how cute Azul was when he was just a baby. If I can get to the right place, give me just a moment. So here's a cute one. This Azul was, most of these videos were within the first 2 weeks we had Azul, so he's just about 8 weeks old. And so you can see he's kind of bitey and wanting to play with the toy. And the reason I pulled up that one is because from there he kind of went into this. And now you can see he's real bitey. But so you can see like he's not biting me because I'm doing something else he loves. And so even at that age, he totally loved his belly rubs. So he wants to be bitey. But I found a way to reinforce the not biting in a way that he loves. So let me just kind of move this screen a little bit to make sure I'm on the right account and looking at the right stuff. So, all right, scroll. I'm going to go back down because there were a couple I earmarked down here. I just got to find them. Where are they? Where are they? So yeah, you guys get to see all the pictures of puppy Azul. Oh yeah, they were before this one.
I'm sure he loves you sharing all his baby pictures.
Here they are. So I don't know what order to play them in, but so here's one of this is one of Azul and Cam's kind of first play sessions. And you can see Azul is super active and a little bit cautious of Cam, which you can't blame him there. So he's coming to me and he immediately starts like biting, trying to bite on my hand. And so we don't want him to do that. So what do? We redirect him to biting on a toy and getting him interested in a toy. Basically, he's wanting to feel safe, which is why he's running to me and not interacting with Cam. But I can get him interacting in the toy in a safe way too. And as long as Puppy Azul wasn't harassing Cam was fine with Azul being, Cam wasn't messing with him as long as Azul wasn't messing with Cam. And so let me show you just like one or two before that. Before we got the toy, thought it was right before. Not that one though, that was a different day. You're gonna find it in one of these. He's this one. In this one, he is after Cam's tail. And this is, you can see is what Cam doesn't want, was trying to avoid. So puppies don't know the rules. They'll bite anything, right? And Cam isn't trying to hurt him. He's just a couple of times saying, all right, don't bite my tail. If you're going to bite my tail, I'm going to stop you. Which is what the paw was there. And so they had that kind of give and take relationship their whole lives. So you can see puppies easily go into the biting mode. I think I had another one here, and one really good way to deal with puppy biting. Uh-oh, I did the wrong one. It went in the wrong way. This should be back to about where we were at. Because this is when we brought Azul home. Right about this time frame.
There he is.
Yeah. So yeah, I hadn't looked at this one yet, but this was one of Azul's first crate training experiences, and he grabbed the blanket and pulled it out like, nope, no blankets in the crate. Then He almost tried to take it back, but funny thing is, Roz has that exact same blanket in her crate at home right now. But yeah, so puppies will bite anything. Anything at all. And so we thought we would kind of start this one off with talking about we know everybody and their brother and their uncle is a dog training expert in their own mind. And so if you have a puppy, you're bound to be getting lots of different advice from your brother, your uncle, your mother, anybody, your neighbor's best friend that you've never met before.
The stranger on the street that wants to give you their opinion.
So everybody loves to share doggy advice. And we know that when it comes to puppy biting, there is a lot of bad advice out there that kind of stems from, you know, the older school alpha theory. You got to show them who's boss. The one that comes to mind most to me is if a puppy bites you, bite them back.
Penny, do you want to change how
Sure
this
would do.
is set up?
Go ahead, Cindy. I think we were talking at the same time.
Oh, do you want to change it from screen share?
Sure,
to-
yes. Good idea. Did that just paused it, right?
I don't know what it did.
Yeah, it did something weird. I can't screen share. There it is. Like I just didn't have that option.
Okay.
It had gone away at the bottom, so. But yeah. So what are some of the other common things that you've heard that you should be doing for puppy biting? That are not things that we would generally do, but what we've heard from all the random people out there.
Spray him in the face. And if you take my mother's advice, it's spray him in the face with ammonia and water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's vicious.
I'd be worried about blinding them.
If it's dilute enough, it's really not blinding them's not the issue. She wanted to sting them in the eyes.
Right, kind of like a pepper spray theory.
Yeah, which I don't think is appropriate.
No.
Now, do you understand why I'm a force-free trainer?
Yeah, no, I get that one. Yeah, and Ashton says hold their muzzle shut. That's a big one where a lot of people will hold their muzzle shut. That's a very, very common one. And I know like back in my days before I knew better, I had done techniques like that as well. So there are a lot of bad techniques out there and a lot of bad things kind of stem from that same ideology of show them you're the boss and that they're not going to hurt you. There's one that's kind of controversial and, you know, I think it kind of borderlines in how you do it, but so it's the making a high-pitched noise, almost like a yip or an ouch or a whatever. And so the reason that advice is controversial is because many people do it as a break the behavior in a way of like attempting to scare the puppy or startle the puppy.
Mm-hmm.
In that particular sense, that can be mildly aversive and it's not actually teaching the puppy, because anytime we're making our puppies afraid of us, we're hurting our bond. So we don't really want to make our puppies afraid of us. So I'm not a fan of doing it in the, you know, in the startle, you know, trying to scare them approach. Especially with an older puppy, you know, to say an ouch, like, let's face it, we're human. And when a puppy gets us in the arm or the leg or toes, I've had a puppy that loved my husband's toes. We say words that maybe we aren't pleased with just because it's a human gut reaction. You know, we might say ouch a little bit louder. Yes, that might accidentally scare a puppy. That's not our goal. Should never be our goal. But we might, I had a dog that not intentionally, and it's not biting, but accidentally headbutted me to the point like so hard that I almost passed out. And you better believe my reaction was not necessarily kind verbally, but and I mean, I was falling to the ground, like on my knees, fetal position on the ground from it. Bad pain. And instead of this was an adolescent dog, but instead of her running away because she was used to me saying harsh words that meant she better get away from me, she was not used to those harsh words. So instead, she ran back to me and cuddled me, trying to make me better, kind of thing.
I had a similar experience with a Great Pyrenees I was playing fetch with, which, first of all, it's incredible that she was playing fetch. We were playing in the house and she dropped, I was laying on my bed and she dropped a tennis ball right next to my arm. And I didn't pick it up fast enough for her wants. So she picked it up and dropped it again. Well, in the process of picking it up, she accidentally got 2 teeth on my skin. And I said, ouch, or some version of that. It hurt. She caught me off guard. Never had worked with her on anything like that. She turns and looks at me. She gave me the most, she was not afraid I was going to do something to her, but she was afraid she was going to hurt me again. And she just gave me this look of, I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't mean to do that. And if you know anything about the breed, you know how maternal they are, and their goal is to absolutely do no harm unless it's defending their flock. And since I was her flock, she absolutely didn't want to hurt me. So I'm with you, Penny. I think it really depends on the situation and on the dog and the handler, whether you use a verbal cue like that to say, you hurt Mom or Dad.
Right. And I mean,
that's really
it is, if we're going to say it in the heat of the moment anyways, we might as well condition that to meaning, all right, we're going to get it out of our system and something good is going to immediately happen afterwards. Whether that's snuggles, cuddles, treats, something. Or, then you're going to get the toy and redirect them to what they can bite or something. So
right.
I never want to necessarily say that high pitch ouch in a way to startle or scare my puppy or, try to teach them a lesson with it. It's that we know we're human and the gut instinct is going to come out. And if we can then condition it. And yeah, so like Ashlyn will say, ow, or ow. And sometimes you might just say, no, that just seems to come out when somebody's about to do something we're not expecting or just did something, like somebody just knocked over a candle or just knocked over a full glass of water. And we might accidentally yell no out of that just gut instinct. And so what we find is if we do those types of things, not out of gut instinct, but in a way of like trying to scare the puppy, that often has the opposite approach. And so when that puppy becomes an adolescent, when they hear that, now they're either running away from us or they're then taking it on as a challenge of, oh, you challenged me, let me challenge you back. And so then you kind of get into the bark attack, where they'll bark at you, back and forth, bark, bark, bark. So human barks at dog, dog barks back at human. Humans actually talking or yelling at the dog, but, to the dog is all sounds like barking. And so if we do that, in a way to try to startle the puppies, it most generally backfires on us in one way or another later on.
And that nippiness tends to come from a place of overexcitement or over arousal. And it's better. I know like Nick's biggest issue when he was a puppy, when he had to go in the middle of the night, was if I lived in a house then and I'd take him in the backyard in my nightgown. And if I was wearing a longer nightgown, he would nip and nip and nip and attack my nightgown on the way out because he had to go and it excited him. And then on the way back in, he'd do the same thing. And I switched to a shorter nightgown to go out and had him on leash, and I didn't have to carry him at that point. And some of the redirection can easily be finding a different way to deal with the situation. If it's occurring in a situation you have to be in on a daily basis, like pottying your puppy in the middle of the night, so it's summer and you can wear shorts out instead of, wild flowy things. You can take a tug toy.
Yeah, things that encourage the tugging to happen on things we don't want to be tugged. It's a big one for that is leashes. How many puppies turn around and bite the leash back?
No,
That's caused from, us pulling on our puppy to get them to go back in or things like that. And they don't like that feeling. So they start biting the leash. But it doesn't take them long to learn that the leash can be a tug toy too.
Or if they're smart like Nick, they figure out how to bite through the leash.
Yep. Many dogs do that. The German Shepherd I had just over Memorial Day weekend here went through 3 leashes that weekend. His owner had said he just started biting the leash, and I noticed he was about halfway through his one leash, like the leash he came with, within the first day or so. So I switched to like my homemade rope leashes, and he went through another one in 2 spots, like not totally through, but almost through. And he was rarely on leash, just enough to go like up and down the ramp into the backyard and up and down the ramp into the car, because we spent so much time off leash in the fenced backyard that I had 3 dogs. We did not walk on leash very often.
Well, and then, if you do need to walk your dog and your dog is really bitey towards the leash, there are alternatives, such as they have cable leashes now. I mean, you ideally want them to teach them to not bite their leash, but some dogs are bitier than other dogs when it comes to that stuff.
And one of the key things that I've seen is most dogs that are bitey at the leash have a leash most puppies anyways, younger puppies that are bitey at the leash have a leash that's attached to their collar. Mm-hmm. And you stop attaching leash to collar and using the back clip on a harness, you tend to see a lot of that bitiness go away because the leash is not so close to their mouth. And that even just making that one little switch can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of reasons puppies bite. Usually mouthing things is how they explore their world. And so they just don't realize how sharp and how hard their teeth are, which is why they accidentally get us. They're just trying to explore. Cindy, you mentioned it a little while ago, the arousal level. The more we amp our puppy up, the more excited they are, the more likely they are to bite, whether biting at us or biting at a dog. That can be really, really common when you have a puppy playing with another dog. And so you really got to be careful with that so that you're not only watching the arousal level, but also watching the other dog's ability to diffuse the situation. And I can show you a couple of videos, but like what we were just watching a moment ago with Cam, where Cam pretty much just walking away and only engaging when puppy was calm. And when puppy Azul was not calm, Cam was like backing off and walking away. And so I have thousands, I would say, videos of Azul playing with his best friend at the time, Remy, who was about 4 months older than Azul. So when Azul first started playing with him, there was a huge size difference. But within just a couple of months, they were really close to the same size. And so, I mean, these two could roll around and play, and Remy was like being so young and didn't have a whole lot of play experience yet himself, but automatically just kind of lay down and let Azul climb all over him. And then if Azul happened to be laying down, Remy would come over and pretend to lay on him, but do more of like a squat or a half lay, where he was up on his elbows, so he wasn't actually hurting Azul and he wasn't holding him down in any way. And so the two of them would roll all over the place. And that is a good, safe puppy play session. Whereas Cam, if it had gone on too long, Cam would have put a stop to it simply because Cam couldn't handle the arousal level and excitement level. So the important thing to remember when we're playing with other dogs and older dogs is that we need to be the ones to keep an eye on that arousal level, that if it's getting too high, we're stopping our puppy before that older dog actually has to stop it. And we're controlling the situation.
The other thing is keep an eye on the older dog. Like Poe is incredibly patient and incredibly tolerant, and she wouldn't stop Nick from doing stuff, and I would have to intervene to make sure that Poe got her space. And I had the house set up so there was Poe's half of the house and there was Nick's half of the house, and Poe was either inside on her half of the house sleeping somewhere, or outside was what she was one of the two places. She wanted to be one of the two places. And Nick was always with me or in his crate. And I think we should touch a little bit on nipping and crates, on how that can come into play as well for management.
Do that, and then I want to recircle back to the different parts of the house.
Okay, so one of the things that's incredibly useful and incredible, we have crates. Crates are a great tool for management, but one of the things that's really helpful when you have a young and nippy and chewy puppy, this helps for both, is whenever you stick them in a crate, you stick them in with something that's, I like something edible, chewy. Like I'll fill a Kong or a Topple and freeze it, and then every time the puppy goes in the crate, they get something out of the freezer to chew on, and then they chew until they go to sleep. That calms them down, that meets their need for chewing, and by doing that, you're helping decrease the nippiness, because you're decreasing their stress levels, you're decreasing their need to get excited, their excitement. You're increasing their rest because they're having active chewing rest, and then they're going to go to sleep. And that takes away a lot of that nippiness of just playing, they're out of control because you're calming them down. And
that's kind of why I popped up this picture. And so, we kind of did the same thing. We have a crate, and when Azul was unattended, he was either in his crate or in that room his crate is in, which is Ross's room now, the laundry room. And so where you saw the videos of Cam and Azul playing, Cam was actually in Azul's space temporarily. And so Puppy either stayed in that space, or we were outside, or Puppy was allowed into the other parts of the house if he was specifically with a person. So usually me, which is kind of where this picture kind of comes in. It was nap time, but Puppy was wired. Puppy Azul was wired. We had just been playing or outside or something, and he was wired. So once a day, I would pull out these bones, and they were really bones designed for bigger dogs. But I would take and line the outside edge, inside edge, I guess it is, not outside edge, the inside edge, because they all had a hollow spot in the middle kind of thing. Not all the way through, but on the edge, there was a hollow section. So I would line that with peanut butter and then stick kibble into that peanut butter. Bigger dogs would get one too, and theirs would be filled with kibble, and Azul's would just have a little bit of kibble. But that's exactly what you were just talking about with the bone to calm them down. So he's more or less licking the peanut butter more than he's chewing on the bone, because his bone would have been not quite appropriate for his age and his puppy teeth, but it wasn't hurting him. And it was kind of giving him that feeling of chewing and licking at the same time, which are both natural ways for dogs to calm down. And of course, we're all set up for success because I'm hoping to take a nap as well. So we got our comfy blanket, we got our bone. He knows he's going to be on my lap for a while. And so, I mean, I probably took 30 pictures here. So, I mean, he's just adorable.
Yes, of course he's adorable. He's a Zool.
And this is immediately afterwards when he was done with his bone and he was getting warm. He stretched out on the couch and put his belly up for a belly rub. And then he was asleep. And so that was our routine when he was a puppy.
The other thing to keep in mind is that licky mats are not appropriate for puppies unsupervised because they will get chewed on. And even though they're generally made out of inert material that is not going to damage the dog if it accidentally gets swallowed, that's not something I would generally leave with a puppy in their crate. If you want them to lick something, probably a topple's safer than
it's a little bit thicker. I would agree with you on that one.
Because the top is open. And if you want to top it with something like Nick does not like yogurt, I've discovered, or at least not yogurt with his supplements in it. So I mix it with dog food, with a pasty type dog food and put that on the topple. And that's something that's totally appropriate for puppies if you have the right, if you have the right thing, or you can mash up dog kibble or whatever you're feeding. Not everybody feeds kibble. There's different types of dehydrated food. There's raw items, there's peanut butter. I generally try and give something nutritious because when I'm putting puppies in crates, they're usually going in several times a day just because they need naps. And so I want them to get something that they have to work for, but I also want it to be something that, they're eating their meal from.
Right. And we have a whole enrichment video that's available. Right now it's on the Puppy Paws YouTube channel, but I'm going to also put it on the Crazy2Calm YouTube channel, so that it just shows a whole wide variety, and it shows the topples and explains a little bit about what those are. And then we have several videos that go along with it that also give directions in how to prepare stuff to go on them. And so, go ahead.
There's lots of fun ideas. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to mine, but the sky's the limit. If you like cooking, topple or assembling, topples are a great way for your dog because you can stick stuff in them that sticks out. You can fill the bottom with one thing, fill the top with something else. They're just a wonderful thing to fill for your dog.
So then the last thing we want to look at when it comes to puppy biting, it kind of goes along with that arousal level, but it is the sleep level. So we know a lot of puppies need a lot of sleep, and sometimes we don't really realize it. And sometimes when they need sleep the most, they'll be in that go, 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 go mindset. And so we think, oh, they want to go play, or oh, they need a walk, or oh, they need, and to do those things, they get even more bitey than normal. And it's because they're so wired that they don't know how to shut down. They don't know how to slow down and be calm enough to go to sleep. And so we really need to be careful with that. If we notice that, especially if our puppy is like normally just kind of regularly puppy bitey, and then all of a sudden, or maybe at a certain time of day, they really become a piranha or a shark and are extra bitey, then that is probably a time of either high arousal level because everybody's just getting home from wherever they were that day, or it's a time when your puppy is extra tired and really needs a nap. And so kind of think about that. And that goes back to that crate training or ways of calming them down. Like for Azul's ritual when he was the puppy of getting the bone with some peanut butter and then getting a belly rub. And after that, he was asleep. So there are a lot of different things you can add into your routine, but developing a routine that you can teach to your dog that helps them slowly calm down is probably one of my biggest ways to help you with puppy biting.
Well,
That relaxation routine makes a world of difference.
and helping them learn and helping them meet their needs while giving them that routine. It's like reading a book to your child before your child goes to, reading bedtime stories. It goes back to the same type of thing. You're giving them something that's calming and soothing to do before they actually fall asleep. And it really, really makes a difference. I know even today with Nick, who's 3.5 now, he will still get the zoomies just before bedtime. And the other night he did a flip turn off Poe and then went back out in the living room and got a chew stick and came back into the bedroom to go to bed. And it was like he knew what he needed. He needed to chew.
I wished I would have gotten a video of it the other night because, like, typically my dogs will do the same thing just before they're settling in for bed. They go out in the backyard and do zoomies. Well, we had a day that was super, super hot, so we hadn't spent much time outside. And even when it was like 94 degrees in the middle of the day, mosquitoes were everywhere. Mosquitoes are that bad in our backyard. So we had that day of just, we didn't get the outdoor time or the exercise that we normally would. And so it was bedtime and Roz knew she was tired, but she couldn't sleep yet because she hadn't expelled that last little bit of energy. And so Azul kind of started it with playing in the house. But when he was done, that turned into Roz springboarding off of my couch, running out into the kitchen, running back in, hitting the couch full speed, jumping off of it like a springboard, running back into the kitchen and back and forth. And I should have got a video of it because it was cute. And I didn't mind her doing it for a little while. But then she kind of hit that point of where, all right, she's not able to stop herself anymore. She's in this mindset and she couldn't bring it down. And so I was able to stop that simply by redirecting her first to come to me. She's super food motivated. So grab the treat bag and ask her to do something that was still moving because she just needed to slow down. And we worked toward getting her to lay at my feet on the blanket. We didn't go straight from zooming to here you go, here's a blanket, chill. We had to slowly get her there. And so that can really, really help with our puppies is that if we know they're overly tired, if we can meet their need for whether it's chewing, licking, sniffing, or human contact or, social contact, those are the biggest things that are going to calm a dog down. And every dog might be a little bit different. Azul was very sniffy from about like 4.5, 5 months on, where sniffing would help calm him down. But prior to that is when he did all of his licking of, licking the bone, chewing the bone, or chewing on a toy, some light tug action. All of those things were calming to him. Like I could amp him up with tug toys too. But if I was slow and careful with it, I could also slow him down with tug toys. So you kind of have to look at the dog in front of you and figure out what they love the most or in what they need. Like Cindy mentioned, Nick knew now. He went and got his own thing because he knows what he needs now. But as a puppy, they simply don't know what they need. They just know that their brain is struggling and they need help bringing that arousal level back down. They may not even understand it in those terms. They know that their brain is wired, and wired means adrenaline, let's go, let's push it, push it, push it. And so they try to go as quickly as they can. And like, I've always been one to encourage zoomies, but occasionally the zoomies need to stop.
Yeah. Well, if you let them go on too long, they need to stop. Yeah. I know Nick gets wound up before bedtime because I have to separate the dogs with a physical barrier, or Nick doesn't eat because Poe will come and push in and get Nick's food. So Nick eats in his crate and he knows he eats in his crate. So I, rather than have him unavailable for however long, when he would rather be with me, and he won't eat in his crate unless I'm sitting right there, I just feed that. He eats throughout the day with tasks and different things that we're doing. So rather than have him just run into the crate. He will usually run into the crate. Nick Poe will be sitting waiting for her food as I'm getting ready for bed. And sometimes I'm getting mugged, not usually. Usually they're just waiting, but they almost always get a chew toy or there's chew toys around. And so Nick was that one night, Nick was making sure there were chew toys available for him because he knew what he needed.
Mhm.
And we had barking. So I have a Pyrenees appear and the poodle. And that's another behavior that I've cultivated.
Yeah.
That
You
I'll
wanted to address like puppy barking in maybe next month or the following month. I want to do these every month on the first Tuesday of the month. So if you have a topic you'd like to suggest, feel free to post that.
I think puppy barking would be a good one.
Yeah. I think we could plan on barking for the July one, and then if anyone else has any additional topics, you can post them in the puppy group and we will get to them as quickly as we can. And so with that, we hope we gave you a couple of tips for puppy biting. If you need more, search the topics area in the Facebook group and you will see previous posts on puppy biting. And then if you have any other questions, as always, reach out to your canine coach. Have a great day.